The opening weeks, obviously, in any investigation, absolutely crucial time to collect evidence, interview suspects, follow leads. I know that you're unhappy with the case and how this was handled in the opening stages. Just for the viewers here, how do you feel that that went wrong?
I think where they didn't follow out all routes and avenues, like the Clifton Road in the beginning. They decided that because they'd gone to a few mobile phone shops and things and they hadn't seen Georgina, they decided then that Georgina hadn't gone to the town. So anywhere that way wasn't looked at. It was, she must have got into a car. She could have gone anywhere, up this end of Clifton Road. Maybe something happened in one of the buildings around there. And that was how, it was never she went into town. And that's what we were led to believe, even though I kept saying, have you checked the roads on that side of the road? Which I don't know if they're what they're called on that side. I've forgotten now. There are a couple of roads further down. Have they been checked? If you go through them, they lead you near the law courts and lead you into town. No, we haven't. We don't. We've got no reason to believe that Georgina went there, but you've got no reason to believe she went anywhere else because nobody else saw her after she came out of the Clifton Road store. And then on the CCTV, that came to light 14 months later when Andy took over. And when we had our first meeting with Andy, he showed us that. He took the laptop out and showed us that. And he said, we found some CCTV footage of the peripheral CCTV. Do you think this could be Georgina? And we were just in shock.
That's the Chapel
Road
CCTV we're looking at now. Yeah.
I mean, we just watched it over and over and over. And, I think in the beginning we were just overwhelmed by, I see my daughter there walking across the road, and, that feeling of, it's hard to sort of express really, because we don't know what's happened to her. We didn't know if she was still alive. We didn't know what happened, and there she was 14 months later on this CCTV. And then a couple of months later they said, oh, we're not really sure, we can't confirm this sighting, we're not really sure. And I said, that is my daughter. I can tell, by the way she walks, the way she swings her arm, the way her hair is. And but they just said, because some of the members of the team don't think it's her, but I'm a bit skeptical, but I wanted to put it out. And I just said, well, I can tell you that's my daughter. Even if we do get people saying, oh, well, the shoes look different and the bag's different, there was 6 hours different. There was 6 hours difference between those two CCTV sightings, and so nobody ever knows where she went in that sick. Nobody's ever come forward, despite me campaigning, posting up, literally begging and pleading with people to, if they saw her that day, if she popped into someone's house, they must have been somewhere, but nobody has. And so she could have, I don't think she came home, because there was nothing was changed or taken from home. But also, when we were working with Donald McIntyre, he brought Andy Crocker in, the cyber expert, and he looked at it. He said he studied it for several months, and he measured the shoulder measurements from the Clifton Road shop and the measurements on the Chapel Road, and he said that is her. He said, I can say that's her. He said, and something about the strap of the bag. He said, it's the belt of the coat that hangs down. But because that footage is very, very grainy, it's not very clear. Not like the one in the shop, which is, considering the one in the shop is only one of those little cheap CCTV camera units, he told us, but it's quite clear, that one.
So I think the question that many people will have is that, okay, well, if the police are saying that it's unconfirmed and that sighting's unconfirmed, can we corroborate it with any other CCTV in the area? Is that something that they've done?
Well,
something we can do?
Well, also, because we had the internal review, they started doing the internal review, and then I think it was in 2020 we had the meeting with the reviewing officer, and then it turned out there was 27 failures. I'm not sure if it was 11 or 13, I can't remember now, but 11 or 13 of those was lost CCTV footage. And so nobody knows what the fit was. That cat was that linked to the Chapel Road. And the rest of them was, as they call, were minor ones. We never got to learn what all of them were, but that these were the major ones, was the lost CCTV footage. And and I said, how can the police lose CCTV footage? And they said that they don't believe that even if it hadn't have been lost, it would have found Georgina. I said, well, it might not have done, but it might have given us more leads, because we would have had, you might have seen where they were going. They might have had and if they'd have looked at it, the most important thing was they actually retrieved it in April 2018, and they didn't look at it because of this theory they had that Georgina hadn't gone into town. And so if they had looked at April 2018, they would, I'm sure they would have had more leads. They could have had the CCTV footage from the bus, which only keeps their footage for a month. But because they didn't look at it,
it's kind of one failing leads to another, because if that wasn't looked, then they couldn't check anywhere else. I mean, just go back slightly there. I mean, did you say that there were some failings you're not aware of, or they wouldn't?
Yeah,
they
told
give
us.
Us some idea of what do you mean?
There are some of the other ones were things like where they'd retrieved things to check forensically from various places, exhibits. They hadn't been labeled properly, so the label wasn't done properly. He called it very, very minor things, and then the rest we were never told. And then he got up and he said, well, I need to leave now, for I've got an appointment. And afterwards I requested another meeting. I said, can we have another meeting to hear the rest of these, the rest of them, the whole of these 27 failures? And we were told no, we couldn't, because some of them would, because it was a live investigation, we couldn't hear all of them. But he told us the most sort of important ones. And at the time, I sort of, he said, well, it's a learning curve. Chief Constable Joe Shiner said it's alert. She apologized on behalf of them. And I said, it's not good enough. This is my daughter's investigation. And how do you expect us just to accept that? It's a learning curve. You lost CCTV, and that could have given vital information. It could have showed where they went or where they come from or anything. So it wasn't acceptable. I did put in about 3 appeals, complaints, and they looked at it and they just said, well, they've accepted responsibility and they've referred themselves to the IOPC, and there's not really anything we can do. And I said to the reviewing officer, who is actually responsible for losing the CCTV? Because you were doing this internal review and you spoke to people. And he said, well, nobody really was aware. Nobody really knew who was doing what. And I said, well, surely there was a chief investigating officer who was overseeing everything. And that's where I believe in the beginning, the first year of this case, I think it was a bit not really very substantial, and